What has Max Walker, Taylor Swift, and a boiled frog got to do with AI? Well, if you want to know, you've got to watch today's show. It was great to have Richard back in the chat this week, where we looked at some of the news and the headlines, releases from OpenAI and from Claude, as well as the general state of what is happening and how we're, as usual, getting our wins of the week. How are we automating our lives? How are we automating our customers? And how are we actually using these tools hands-on to get better outcomes? If you want to know more, make sure to watch the show, like and subscribe, and drop a comment so the algorithm knows to share this great content out with your network. Richard, you were just saying before the show then that you broke a rib while you were away for the last few weeks. Do you want to tell us about breaking a rib?
Not fully diagnosed, but yes, I was surfing in a Wira resort in Indonesia, and I fell on my board. And they never know if it's a broken rib or a bruised cartilage or whatever, but it has the same symptoms, and that is you can't take a deep breath, you can't sneeze or cough, and rolling over in bed is very horrible. But I'm still alive. I'm still here, sir.
Not fully diagnosed, just like my ADHD. There we go.
I was going to put my hand up then too.
But mine's fully diagnosed. Not about you guys.
Awesome. Well, how was last week? I feel like I was able to listen to a good half of it or so.
Yeah, you were definitely like Waldorf and Statler throwing in stuff like from the cheap seats on the comments, but it was good. I mean, it was great having Amber and Manjula. Manjula didn't want to talk over people, so we've got to get her on again so she can pry her out of her shell a bit, because I think she has more value to add.
Very much. There's a lot there. Yeah.
Yeah. So building her up for teachers is awesome. Smart syllabus assistant, if you didn't hear about that last week. So that's pretty awesome what she's doing, and we'll continue to bring in different super friends as we go along, and have different people on different weeks as the roster shifts up and people have life things like breaking ribs or cartilage in Indonesia.
I found what Manjula was talking about with how the education system, like they don't let you use any of the big tools. They have like their special version of it.
Yeah.
Forget what it was called. It was like their own like unique ChatGPT thing.
Well, it depends on which part of the education system as well, right? And we do talk about data security and sovereignty and all that kind of stuff. Like they're worried about teachers putting kids' names in and other random crap, I'm sure. So they're trying to lock that down. But like I know, like in the Sydney Anglican education system, they've got their own tool which understands specifically more the primary curriculum for helping build out lesson plans and doing all that sort of stuff within their frameworks and what they're teaching. So they've got their own systems that they've deployed for that, but I don't know about the state systems and other private school entities, what they're doing.
Makes me think about like religious organizations as well. Like I've never really followed any particular denomination, but I have many in my family, and I've been exposed to a lot of different sources. So the Jehovah's Witness like organization, like my dad's fully into the JW side of things. They have all of their own jw.org systems and applications and all of the various sources of information, but I'm pretty sure none of them yet actually have like an AI layer in it. And I think it would be really, really useful for just linking concepts. Like, you know how if you're speaking to somebody that's really high in like faith, and they can give you, that reminds me of so-and-so passage from this book in this chapter, and there's this story as well that will probably help you. And
to be fair, the main models, like the Bible is like the most published book ever. Like,
yeah, it's probably
I don't know about like the J-dubs and their specific texts and things, but just the frontier models are pretty good. If you want to say, hey, help me investigate this passage, I'm going to run a study on this, I want to pull these themes out, and he goes, yep, no worries, here, and you can cross-reference off to this one. Like, it actually has a lot of that in the training data, and you just give it an agent prompt that focuses it on your guardrails of what you're thinking. Like at our church, my minister, he uses it a little bit for some of that prep for studies and stuff, especially pulling the questions and things together. It's great for research. Obviously, it's not writing the finished sermon, and you always double check and make sure you agree with the references. I know the Catholic Pope came out and said, you can't use AI for anything. Don't use it at all, because that's from computers and not from the human heart. And I'm like, I can disagree with that.
I can see him on his phone just speaking a GPT.
I got a broken rib. Stop making me laugh.
Like the Pope said, don't get AI to write you a prayer because then it's not a valid prayer if you say it. And I'm like, that's incorrect. Like if you believe, if that's the words that are like you pray that, like that's valid. Who cares if AI wrote it? I don't know who wrote every word in the prayer book 500 years ago, but it doesn't make it a less valid prayer if I'm
exactly
want to say those words to God, right?
It is for anything, religion, learning, knowledge, explanation, consulting, support, love, caring, family. None of it is valid to use AI as a boundary to say it's not valid. And we see that with new technology all the time, right? It comes along, people say this is really bad, and they're only saying it because they're scared of it, right? At the end of the day, everything comes from the human DNA. Everything we use and that eventually comes from the human DNA, and it can be a spiritual location, it can be a identified pattern location, it can be an intelligence location, but it's all bloody human, right?
Yeah. And I mean, beyond, using this for those tools, all the administration and stuff, like the church organizations, like any other not-for-profit organization needs to do. I mentioned I'm building an accounting management thing to help me do the annual budgets and reports for the monthly meeting to track actuals versus budgets and help us plan all that better than using a Google sheet. The one of the guys, the assistant ministers at the church, for doing letterbox dropping to make sure, we don't double up pamphlets when we're announcing the Easter services and saying, hey, it's Easter. Believe it or not, we have church services at church for Easter. Come join us. They print out maps of the suburb and you go over and you grab your little stack and you highlight the streets you're going to do. He built a thing using anti-gravity, I think, where he goes in with Google Maps and you tap on the streets that you want, and it tells you how many bundles of pamphlets you're going to need based on the number of houses in the streets you've selected. And then you put your name on it and it locks them out. And so it's now this dynamic iPad app for helping manage the letterbox drops. It's awesome.
That's so cool. That's really cool, actually. I think we should have more like little showcase demo things like that on this show to be like, look at this amazing thing that I just found.
I think that'd be fun. Like showcases are so like it removes the barrier to entry because they can see a real practical use case instead of us just saying acronyms the whole time. We can be like, oh well, I built this, like showing 2 people yesterday how to use Codex, and instead of saying, hey, this is amazing app, I'll be like, hey, on your computer you have ChatGPT, download this, it's part of your subscription, there's nothing else that's being paid for, it's just on your PC, and then look what it's capable of doing. And then you connect it to everything, set up some automations, and then mind blown. Like they made a game for like their kid in like 5 minutes.
Yeah,
there's so many opportunities.
Yeah, I bought a couple of use cases, business ones today to just mention. So I thought to fill in that gap because it's really important at the moment. And I liked what Amber and you guys were saying at last week's podcast about, it's not a technology problem, it's a business problem. Hence, you sure. I read that article last night after getting off the plane with jet lag because I was bored, and I think it's really valid.
All right, well, let's do a show about AI and business then. Let's do this. So we are doing a show about AI and business. We are AI operators. It's back to the regular roster for those that are joining us that are regulars in our audience. And if you are joining us, jump in the chat, say hello. We'd love to hear from you. Gentlemen, I'm still working out with the new where we do the banter and then we do the show logo and then we do a bit more bantering and then we do news, or do I just jump straight into the news or headlines? Like the whole show flow we're working on. I'm working with my AI partners to help me with the show flow because they have the full like transcript of all 13 episodes so far, so they can see where we're going, they can see how we're doing it, they can help us bring some of the news in. So we are trying to self-apply the technologies that we talk about into even producing the show. I mean, a few weeks ago, Natalia, when I was complaining about the content production pipeline, said, we could automate that for you, Dave. I'm like, we should do more of that. This isn't a win of the week. This is a story about automating stuff. For my chart reporter app that I talk about a little bit, my journaling app for FX traders that I've launched, I've started as of in the last 24 hours doing live streams for that as well, because I love live streams. I just changed the color of the lights behind me and away we go, showing people how the app works in real life. So actually placing trades, seeing the trades appear. And so it's sort of a live show and tell, walk and talk, doing some trading, like, chatting with the audience. And so I did that for half an hour last night until like 1 a.m. and pulled the transcript out and dropped it in my thing. And I've worked with my team of agents so they know, hey, Dave does the AI operators show, but he also does this chart reporter show as well. That's going to have a different spin when we analyze his transcripts and do all that. So I said, okay, cool. Here's what you should retitle that live stream with. Here's a new subject. Here's all the new descriptions and everything. And I was like, can you just do this for me? Like, I don't want to be copying and pasting this stuff into YouTube. I said, I've got N8N. That's already linked into my YouTube account because it pulls my analytics and things. Can we just do that? And because N8N in their latest MCP release can push and write workflows directly into N8N more easily than ever before. So right there in my IDE, Codex, not the Claude, whatever it was, I can't remember, went and wrote me a new little module, stuck it up there in N8N, and then could take all my detailed transcript analysis and just push it up and update my YouTube records for me without any of the copying and pasting. And so now you spend a little bit of time now, but that's going to pay dividends. And as I do like dozens of more live streams for Chart Report, and even as I start doing some of the work for this, now I can help it with the AI operators pushing changes up, which is
that's where it starts. It's like you notice a friction. You notice something that you don't want to do, some sort of process that is repeated, or I don't know, has a little bit of intelligence, like a little bit of a decision, enrichment, whatever. Like, how can we make this semi-automated?
Yeah.
Like what components need to exist for this to actually start to come together? Especially like in different industries, you don't want to have the whole thing automated. You still want to have that like human in the loop and whatnot, but yeah, that's how it starts, dude.
Yeah, I mean, I've been watching a few of Nate on YouTube's videos. Nate Herc, he's does some good content, and he's been talking about using Hyperframes for video editing and putting all the animations and stuff. So more the talking head stuff versus editing a live stream. But in there is video cut and edit skills that he's been using. So I was like, I do use Descript, and I still like Descript, and there's a place for Descript in the workflow, but I can't get my AI to easily send just like cut here commands into Descript. Their API makes you talk to their AI to then make the edits. And I'm like, I don't want to do that leapfrogging. So the next step is I pull these downloads down and then I'll get my AI to find the best clips and then use those video skills to actually clip those out and put some animations and transitions on automatically. So we will get there. Like today, I was like, oh, I didn't clip anything from last week's episode. We go live in an hour and a half. Give me one clip I can put on LinkedIn. And he goes, okay, grab the soundbite from Amber. Use that. And I was like, okay, I can quickly cut one thing and push that.
That was a good one. I like that one.
I think I was talking to Marno about this previously. I've sort of hit this weird turning point when it comes to stuff that is generated, controlled, or like decided upon by AI. So the quote unquote slop, where I think I'm almost getting to the point now where I'm tolerating AI generated stuff a lot more as if it's just the norm. So Dave, like if you just went nuts and you kind of just let it go and create a bunch of clips, and all these clips just started to get updated and uploaded, and they weren't necessarily like, upper echelon, really curated clips. I almost would find the novelty in them being kind of shit that they're fun.
I think there's two sides to that. There is like if like and we're going to play our wins of the week bumper in a second and so on, which are imperfect AI generations. But I suppose the difference is when we're talking about clipping this podcast, if it just gets half sentences and half ideas that make no sense because it thinks, oh, that sounds really good, and it gets like this weird fragment of our conversation that you just push up and it's like, that's crap. Why would I ever watch that? Those people are idiots. They make no sense at all. I'm like, maybe people will watch us because we're idiots and we make no sense at all. Maybe that's half the gig. Maybe just I should experiment with that for a week and just say, go nuts, clip, post, eat your heart out. It can't hurt. As far
like
as
the vending machine bench, like they have to earn their keep. Do the things, get the views.
I mean, at the moment, with what we're doing, we're not growing particularly fast because I'm not doing enough. Maybe just doing more of something, anything, is the answer. As long as we don't burn people, I don't know. We'll try that.
Yeah, I feel like I'm curious on that because I feel like there's just value in the consistency of showing up rather than constantly having to edit. Like, where are you making the content? So some grace for yourself there. But I'm curious, and I support Matt's idea. There was like, yeah, just embrace the AI slop, and that like you don't want to put out terrible content. But if it cuts off half sentences, then people might be curious, like, what's the rest of the sentence? Now I have to bloody find the podcast and go watch it.
You just described YouTube Reels, right?
Yeah, exactly.
They show you something and you're going, hey, that's really interesting. It stops. You go, what the bloody?
Well, that's where we'd be posting these too. They'd be going straight onto shorts and reels.
I would be curious.
Yeah, I mean,
you go first, Dave.
I was going to say, just from a point of view of that, just not overthink it. With the chart reporter stuff, it analyzed my transcript, and I did not review it. I just went, I just push the update. Just give me a description. Don't just leave my generic Dave's live streaming tonight as the subject. Just populate that so I'll appear in the algorithm more. Just do something. So think like what did Lord Aaron Burr say? Smile more, talk less. I just need to think less and push more.
There's a great one on the topic of that. I'm not sure if any of you follow Modern Wisdom by Chris Williamson.
Yes,
podcast
legend.
So I just saw a snippet last night where he's interviewing someone. He's I think he's an author and a linguist or whatever he's talking about. But the topic of conversation was the impact that AI is having on us evolving. In that there was the example he gave us. There's been a clear marker of before ChatGPT came out, everyone spoke in a certain way in the language that we used, and then ChatGPT came out. So since 2022, more and more people have been using the word delve. It's such a like Latin derived word, and it's a funny one, but it's something where like AI is trying to like sound sophisticated, so it starts using that, and then people started talking about it that way and started using those words, and even looking at lawyers and like ministers and stuff, you can see the language that they're using has increased and is a lot more Latin-like, because that's what ChatGPT communicates in. And it's almost like we've trained this thing, but now it's training us in the way that we think and the way we communicate. So I'm curious to see how much of that is our own thought, but how much of that is influenced by AI.
It's happening everywhere, and it didn't need technology to happen. You've just described fashion, trends, humans' ability to want to belong and follow, yet remain as individuals. And so they will take a percentage that they will copy so they feel like they're in the club, but then they want to put a different spin on it so they feel like they're individual. And, you get the 4 personality types, which I laugh at because I'm looking at a screen of 4 people and I think I can see all 4 of them. And from that point of view, it's kind of the Americanization of our language, right, around the world, accelerated with Word. And with all the new office tools and the online tools and the computer and Zs instead of Ss. And of course, now in language, it is outrageously becoming very common. And I think I told the story of someone recently who was selling in the IT space, and they were using AI heavily to try and differentiate themselves. And I reminded this person, you're using the sum net average of everyone's language. So you're not differentiating yourself at all. Get this neck, as Max Walker, my friend Max Walker used to say, use your neck top computer for the creative stuff and use everything else for the automation. And that's it. That's exactly what you guys are saying. And it is happening more and more and more. I have a friend of mine who's on online dating, and she was telling me that all of the profiles from the men are all the same. I go, of course, men are lazy. You can go straight into AI. Give me a good profile.
That's great.
Thanks very much.
That what you were saying there, Marno, about that shift of language and the gentle exposure, it reminds me of the saying like how to boil a frog. Like,
and that's terrifying.
Instantly my alarm was going off, and I hope everyone who potentially watches us and listens to us has heard me ranting about in the past, is cognitive security.
Oh yeah, versus cognitive bias. Very true.
That's literally what I've been talking about, and trying to build awareness about is that exposure to language change, thinking patterns change. Similar to what Richard said, it's existed in the past already. Like, of course it has. The access that we have now and the access that they have now to us and our brains, and to slowly boil that frog.
Well, even you saying that you're kind of embracing the junk AI stuff and going, well, that's kind of what it is, and I don't mind it so much anymore. You're like, oh, that frog's getting warm. But that's a good segue into some news.
Welcome to the AI Update. Let's look at what's happening in the news.
All right, right, let's look at what's happening in the news, where Dave forgot to pre-share his screen, so we'll do that now. All right, look at that. Taylor Swift files to trademark voice and image after AI concerns.
Was not expecting that headline at all. Like when you were showing your screen, the last thing I was going to see is Taylor Swift.
Our news things are so different.
Completely different.
But we're just talking about, you know, that popularization and ideas and AI eating itself a little bit, and where does it learn? Where does it get its ideas from? Apparently, it's not going to get them from Taylor Swift anymore. She is saying no.
It's an interesting thing, though. Like, if you were like heavily, you know, like in the entertainment industry, your whole brand and everything is revolving around your ability to create music or, you know, some sort of thing. I can totally empathize with the artists.
Her likeness, she doesn't want to turn up in random ads and things. And
can I just say something? Nothing against Taylor Swift. She's talented, very wealthy. She's reasonably attractive, but she looks like any girl next door. I mean, if she tries to trademark her image, she's going to rule out about 1 billion people around the world. I mean, how do you do that? Where's the differentiation on the image? You're going to need AI to say, yes, no, that was a general one. No, that is you. No, that's a general one.
It's saying all she's got generic lady face. All mousy blonde girls look the same.
Yeah, pretty much.
It makes you think of what Richard just said before, like the sum net average. You know, if one individual is saying, "Hey, you can't use my voice," why not? Like, literally, why not? What's the problem? Like, if everyone can use each other's voices and we're just fully aware of the fact that, you know, it could be used for like harmful reasons, I don't really understand, because it just becomes that sum net average thing again.
Doppelgangers exist. People with similar sounding voices exist. It is a tricky one. I mean, I went to a funeral last week, and the guy it was an older bloke, and they put up a photo on the screen of him from when he was in the 70s, when he was young, like he was 20s or 30s in the 70s, and he had that 70s look with the sort of the metal rimmed glasses and the big red beard and so on. I'm looking at that going, that could have been my dad. That was generic 70s guy. Like, they all looked like that. They all kind of with the big beard and the metal rimmed glasses. There's this generic look of dudes from the 70s where they all kind of look the same. I mean, Matt, you're not too far away from it if you wanted to.
I don't have one of those like furry green jackets.
Yeah, the furry sort of check flannelly type jacket or something, and put the little metal rim, the gold metal rim glasses on. Grow your hair a little bit fuzzier.
It's got really good teeth. They didn't have good teeth back in those days.
Oh, that's just my AI filter.
I need to get one of them.
Oh,
but likenesses are a tricky one. Anyway, I thought I'd just open up with that. It is interesting, this whole, like, Disney did a big deal to license all the Pixar stuff over to Sora, and then Sora shut down. So OpenAI had this goldmine of Disney IP that they were licensed to generate what people like to monetize that.
Well, they're unique. You see, animations, artwork style, that's kind of unique. And short of serendipity occurring, which it does and needs to be taken into account, I understand why someone like, I understand why someone like that would be.
You mean when a studio releases Ants and another studio releases A Bug's Life like less than 12 months later?
Yeah, exactly. It's exactly right. So, you know, we're going to have to make a decision whether someone was plagiarizing, supporting, trendizing, following, you know, but, we'll let some courts solve that. I'm sure it'll be obvious to us as humans when someone copies and when someone doesn't.
Yeah. All right. Well, let's get back into something that is a bit more in your swim lane, guys. This is back on the sovereignty thing. OpenAI's latest models, Codex, now available on Amazon Bedrock. OpenAI is now letting you use your models and keep all the data residing here on Australian shores using Amazon Bedrock's platform. So,
what's the news though? Like, I feel like that's been a case for a very long time.
Apparently it hasn't been. Like, that's new. Codex wasn't on Bedrock before.
As in the model?
Yeah.
Because they've done that really fun thing where they've named everything Codex.
Everything is moved. That's their new brand, right? They're moving away from ChatGPT to Codex as their main thing. Like, their desktop app is all revolving around being the Codex app now.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So, like, when I see that story, like, previously it was always, if you wanted ZDR endpoints in Australia, you had to go through Azure. And they had all of the 5.4 series in there. I can't use that for a few.
So that's what this headline's saying then, because the subheadline is a day after the ChatGPT creator loosened its ties with Microsoft. So yeah, so maybe it was on the Azure data centers. Now it's on the Amazon ones as well, as they sort of do that.
Yeah, it was a big problem because it was like what Microsoft gave them over $50 billion, and then all of a sudden it came out that they also went and basically window shopping, and they went to Amazon and got a big deal there. And it makes sense, but it's also just bad business. Like the company that's funded you for so much, but then it could just be all publicity. Like there's so much smoke and mirrors.
100%.
But I mean, the money that's being thrown around is just tremendous.
Similar to like a number of months ago, we talked about Meta buying Manus.
Yeah.
And now the CCP is trying to stop that. But Manus, since that initial deal, they've actually moved their operations to Singapore. So they're no longer in the CCP, borders.
Jurisdiction.
Yeah. So it's this real weird like vibes. But I totally put my tinfoil hat on with you, Marno, that I think these headlines and the news stories and the stuff that they do to create a reaction is part of the game. Like all of the stuff with Elon and Sam at the moment, Sam's a scam altman, he's stealing all of the profits, which was not meant to be a for-profit, and all this kind of stuff. We will never know what the actual game is here.
It also doesn't matter. Like at the end of the day, I mean, I'm a big proponent of the news stays the same, just the names change, only the names change. So I don't care for the news at all unless it's impacting my immediate family or my immediate day-to-day. I can't do anything about it. I can make my corner of the earth better, and that's all I can focus on, right?
100%.
But yeah, there's a lot of stuff where it's high-level plays from people that have way too much money and they have a lot of resources. And what's the incentive? I always ask the question, what's the incentive for doing this action or making this post? It's never just, okay, I'm doing it for the good of the greater good. It's almost always an incentive. So what do they get incentivized from making the deal with AWS or making this article or getting news stories? It's like there's more business. So
it's like you said, there is, I think someone said once famously, might have been Walter Cronkite, that there's only two pure things on the news, sport and the weather. Everything else has cognitive confirmation bias and advertising stuck in it. And it's true, right? If you think about it, every little piece of advertising is either political, nominal advertising. I always laugh and say to friends when I'm watching the news, there'll be I don't know if you know, some obscure news article comes up and you go, why the hell did that? It was so out of place. And then you think about, they're advertising a new bit of food.
Yeah, so some of the puff pieces that appear on the news or on the morning on the television shows. I mean, we the other night we were my wife and I were flicking around and found Anchorman 2 was on. Have you seen Anchorman 2?
That's good.
Which really details, like in a parody comedy way, the story of how the news became audience captured and just started chasing eyeballs and became very sensationalistic. And there is a whole subplot in there around commercial capture. As well, and not reporting on things because of commercial interests and stuff. Like it's for a funny movie, it's actually got like this sort of thread of truth.
It does have levels. I agree, David. Anchorman, very clever, very funny.
What else is in the news though, fellas? I feel like there's a few other...
I mean, just on a product update, back to just sort of AI operations, Codex is getting a lot of new stuff, and some of that's pretty fun, like in their Codex app, like the integrated browser use. So yes, a lot of them have browser use, so you can have your playwrights and so on. But one of the things that's nice is the fact that, and I wanted this when I was first developing stuff in Anti-Gravity, it had a Chrome plugin, which was great, but there's like an Annotate button in the built-in browser with Codex, so you can actually select elements on the screen and comment. So the AI isn't trying to guess from a screenshot what you're referencing. It actually knows directly because you clicked on this element that I need to look at that element and make some changes to that specific thing. I was doing a demo of it yesterday at this build day I was at, showing someone how these new tools can work because she was like, what is all this stuff? And I brought up an app that I've been building, and it took me to my Auth0 page, which I have no control over. It's the Auth0 page. But just to show that in principle, I was like, annotate the blue login button, make this red. And it came back and said, I can't control that page. I can't make that red for you. That's on the Orchestration platform. And I said, by the way, the system you're building, the brand color is orange. Why are you asking for red? And I was like,
yeah,
brilliant.
Contextual knowledge. I love it. Yeah, Codex is going to be insane. Like, I genuinely am so excited to see what Thibaut and his team just keep shipping. Like, they are achieving. I think he tweeted something this morning when I woke up. I saw his words were, "We're achieving escape velocity." Like, I just love that kind of wording, where everything is speeding up and accelerating to some sort of insanity.
Yeah. Which we discussed it a few weeks ago, where we were showing how like the Anthropic were trying to eat their lunch and like had news release after news release after news release, and now the coin's flipped and OpenAI are just sort of pumping out all the new updates and releases. They're both fighting each other on things like computer use, which is super fun because I think I mentioned last week I've started building a video game as well, just for funsies, and it's using a thing called the Godot engine. And so what I do is I say, playtest it, and it goes and spins up this video game in its own Godot engine window, and then it can actually click around and test whether the resource production is fast enough or too slow, or whether the enemies come too fast or too slow, and it can do all this play balancing for me by just physically playing the game with computer use. It's awesome.
Yeah, there's been a couple of like, I know you're not X, Dave, so you don't see like the latest news, but the Anthropic put a few new things out today that I saw that it's the same story. Like, they've packaged and productized something that has existed for months already, and they've made it just look super clean and tidy. And which it's fantastic. Like, if you can find the posts, Dave, because I can't share, but there's stuff to do with Claude can connect straight to Blender. So if you do 3D modeling in Blender, it can completely control everything in there for you. Yeah.
Yep.
As well as some sort of audio platform for creating music. I can't remember what it's called. As well as Touch Designer, I believe, is another one. And yeah, like that, those kind of interactions and integrations. Oh, also with Affinity, with like the Canva Affinity whole setup.
Okay. I don't know about the Canva Affinity. I've not touched Canva much. I feel like they're so like primitive. Like, it's just so much easier to use anything else. But
you're building on the Claude page rather than Anthropic. But anyway, I think that's awesome for people that are in that ecosystem and they use those tools. That's really, really cool. Like, there you go. Here's the Blender one. Oh yeah, and Fusion. So I used to use Fusion 360 a lot when I was doing 3D printing.
Wow.
Really, really simple, easy, quick integrations that.
So we're seeing the democratization not only of information but also of applications. Is that a fair assessment?
Yeah. Did you guys see? And Dave, I'd be curious if you saw, like, Salesforce is kind of moving away from their entire GUI.
It's funny. I mean, this comes full 360 a little bit. When I was there over a decade ago, as they released things, the policy at the time was API first. Everything was meant to have a fully functional API. So that way, when they released their various mobile apps and things, you could get the full functionality, not just on your desktop web, but they could push that out and have that in the mobile apps for that. As people built things on the App Exchange and extensions, it was meant to have full API functionality. Now, as time went by and acquisitions happened, I think that fell away a little bit, and there wasn't as much of a focus on all products releasing API first all the time. But it sounds like they've gone back to that because they realize, now we just want to plug agents in, and the agents need APIs to talk to all the things and access all the functionality. So they're announcing, headless 360 or whatever, because they love sticking extra taglines like 360 and Force and 2.0 and Cloud and Einstein. And
it's like Apple.
It's a running gag, like in the whole Salesforce community, that they rebrand their products every 12 months at their annual conference. And it's the same product with a new badge on it and a few upgrades. And it's like, makes things so hard for everyone. Just remembering, what are we calling it this year? But yeah, I mean, again, and I saw Google released some new A2A spec as well. They're sort of trying to push the agent-to-agent thing. There's so much news every week, and trying to work out, what to cover. I decided we should talk about Taylor Swift.
I want to talk about 5.5 quickly for those of the people that are actually out there with OpenAI subscriptions still, whether they've maintained it the entire time or they've just come back since 5.4 and 5.5. I was one of them. I have to say that 5.5 on low reasoning in my Pi setup, so in my agent harnesses that I've built, is phenomenal. Like if people throw around the term AGI and all that sort of thing, I genuinely don't need anything smarter or anything more upgraded at this point. I can do everything I need from start to finish, or without any issue.
That's a good warning, because I went out in the city yesterday and I took my laptop with me and I upgraded Codex to make sure I had a local copy of the tool. And when I logged into Codex, it defaulted to 5.5 extra high fast.
Oh wow!
Like that was the default setting, was burn as many tokens as fast as you freaking can. And I was like, whoa, okay, we'll turn that off, because I've been caught by the fast trap before, and you do go through tokens at 2x the speed on fast mode. So get rid of fast mode.
Did you guys ever use 5.3 Codex Spark? Did you ever use the Spark model?
Not really.
No. So Spark, like it sounds, was fast. It was when they did a deal with Cerebras. So Spark actually runs on those big Cerebras chips, and it is intense. Yeah. I totally agree with Sean, 100%. Like 5.2 was a waste of time. It was definitely the inflection point, but it was pretty scary. And then
I think the Codex version, so 5.2 chat might have. I think I started using Codex heavily for building some Rust stuff and some structured things, and the Codex edition around that 5.2 time, I think it was 5.3 Codex. There was no regular 5.3. I think they went from 5.2 to 5.4 in chat, and then they dropped the Codex moniker off the model, and they're not putting Codex on the models anymore. They're putting Codex on the harness. And I think kind of like Anthropic have gone with Claude as their go-to-market title. It feels like OpenAI are trying to move away from ChatGPT and move to Codex as their go-to-market product.
I think the branding of ChatGPT, like, I adopted the Primogen's moniker of Jippity, which was from Boris Johnson, where he sort of pronounced it wrong. And so like I always say Jippity, and I say it tongue in cheek, but it's kind of like a bit of a tainted brand now. Like when you think of people that don't really know what exists in the world, they're like, oh yeah, I've heard of ChatGPT. Like, but so you're targeting the small, like, not very highly adopted user base if you're using that term. But if you're saying Codex are the builders. All right. So I think that kind of makes sense for them to try and adopt.
We're gonna move to some wins and discuss how we've been hands-on with the tools this week. But I just want, on the whole Codex thing, one last thing that they pointed out yesterday. So I was at these events and OpenAI were there doing some presentations, and one of the technical guys, he said, look, we know that the GPT models are not the best at doing front-end UI. Like he just said that. But he said, but now, especially like in the Codex app, you can do image gen. We've got the new image gen 2, which is really good at generating anything. And so the trick is you use the image gen to mock up the interface you want. And then Codex is really good at reading that interface and then building off that mock-up. So they were saying, look, out of the box, if you tell us you want an interface, we're not going to do the best job. But if you tell our image gen you want an interface, then you'll get something really good. And then tell our model to use that image to build the front end, and it will be really good.
Well, yeah, if you're one-shotting, like if you're just trying to one-shot from the scratch, definitely 100%. Like that workflow is actually super, super effective.
Yeah. And having the image gen built in, like I'm building a game and I've been doing it a bit in Codex, a bit in Claude, but I need to move more into Codex, I think, because it can image gen the pixel assets and things to actually use as elements and sprites all in one tool, because Claude doesn't have image gen at all.
Yeah. Well, you can wire it in. You could literally...
You can. You've got to go nano banana and you've got to do all that. Yeah, but all in one. If it's there and I'm paying for it already and I don't need extra API keys, then...
Well, you do. You need to use your OpenAI key in order to do that.
I've got a Codex login. I'm using Codex with my sub for image gen. Right,
cool.
It's all built in. You just it's part of the license I'm paying them for.
So you've already had some successful gens on non-API key gen.
I assume so. I haven't tried. I'm going to try that in the background while we talk. I'm going to bring up wins of the week, and then we'll talk about that. And while you guys talk about your wins, I'm going to load Codex in the background and see whether I can generate an image. Let's do that.
Good, because last time I checked, it didn't work. I'd be stoked to see if that does work now.
All right.
Can I bring a...
Oh,
No, you can't.
I was going to say, that was timing, wasn't it? I forgot about the titling. So Marno and I were talking the other day about how we position all this great technology that we use for the technophobes that are there. And I checked with some of our clients and customers and some of our partners and that. And it really is a group of haves and have-nots. And I'm sure we all agree with that, right? So, I think I used the example, my ex-business partner from very recently is still one of my closest friends. I said, you've got to look at this AI stuff and we'll build some agents for you. And he's one of those people that loves to do his processing and loves to know where his stuff is and goes to his accountant with his perfect records and going, look, I've been a good boy. Do I get an A and a gold star for this? I'm saying to him, can you just cut that crap out and put it to the back? It's like someone who likes to change gears on a car versus an automatic. Of course, they get emotionally attached to it. So I looked at a couple of business cases that we were involved in. And just to give the headlines generically, one of these was a manufacturing company, and they produced about, 1,000 to 2,000 invoices a month for small manufacturing they did in the mid-market. What was astounding is that most invoices were completely touched by human hand and checked. And of course, I think Marno or Matt might have written on my article, keep the human involved. No, it was another guy wrote, keep the human involved in the process, like you're always looking at it and you know what's going on because you can't use your own brain for pattern collection. But one of these ones, it was all about agent orchestration across invoices going out, received, double checking, payment optimization. The results were just astounding. I mean, these guys avoided late penalties of $180,000 a year. Their discounts captured 8 to 70 early payment discounts for them paying out, saved them up to 71% of their costs. Their processing time went from 4.2 days down to 6.8 hours. This is a small mid-market company that got a couple of buffoons like us to sit down and help them handle their invoicing processing in a very simple way. It wasn't updating data. There was no groundbreaking technology. Their ROI, the implementation cost for them was $54,000, but they saved an ROI of 608%.
Wow.
On that, so don't hire us, but hire some buffoons like us, right? And you might spend 50 grand with us, but you're going to save all this money. And I remember when I was talking to years ago, Peter Solvik was CIO of Cisco. I met him many years ago, and I was the Cisco spokesperson for Europe and Asia at one stage about the new stuff, right? Going out and giving these talks. And the worst thing we could do was talk about an intranet because all the CIOs thought they were going to have to sack all their staff. And I remember I created this graphic and I said, and it's kind of like my article said, no, you've got these people doing very basic stuff. And you should, sorry, David, I did it again. You just keep those people because they know your business. They're loyal. They love you. You love them. And just move that idiotic stuff out of their brain and use them in a more creative way. And I had this great graphic, so it made sure people didn't think you're going to sack anyone. And so the key message here is I've got examples of even small businesses growing their businesses substantially and saving hundreds and hundreds of thousands, if not millions of dollars, just by a very short engagement of a few months. They spend $50,000 with some nerds like us, and all of a sudden, they don't have to. It is so obvious. It is happening so much. I've got other examples that are just outrageous. I had another sales one where these people grew their business by 300% in 6 months. And it's because they were mining the data that they already knew, right? But they didn't have people assigned to looking at the moving market. They had assigned to processing their market. Anyway, that's my view of a win. And I think the ROIs are so big, but everyone, I think, Marno, you might have told me or someone told me and other friends, people go, how much does it cost to get my AI stuff in? And it's a whole lot of tools and a waste of time and they're scared. No. How much money do you want me to print for you? That's what I want to tell our next client. How much money would you like us to print for you? Because we will print it for you. Anyway, that's my view of a win this week.
That's like borderline sort of like Gen Z, Gen Alpha lingo there.
Is it? Yeah. Oh, good. I'm getting younger. I hate getting older.
No, that's awesome. That's really cool. That's super nice wins. I've been stupid with like all of my client engagements. I haven't really captured any metrics for like before and after case study stuff. So Yeah, I wish I could say like 600% improvements and stuff like that. That'd be fantastic.
But the thing is, we pay, people like yourself and Marno and David to get under the weeds and do the dirty work, like the mechanic on our car, that we don't want to see. And it is really important that we acknowledge that and then take a step back and say, my mum used to always say, which is in my new book coming out, forget the crap in the middle. Look at the start, look at the end, and that's the reality of what you're doing.
Yeah,
that's how I describe systems to people. Don't worry about the middle part.
Yeah, I'll handle that.
What goes in and what comes out.
Exactly. So
inputs, outputs.
Yeah,
exactly.
Oh, that's awesome. How did you go with your image gen, Dave?
Yeah, it totally worked. I'm just tweaking it before I brought it up, but
that's awesome.
It's definitely working, just out of the box. Just give me a sec. Just someone else do a win of the week, and then I'll show the image in a sec.
I can explain a win of the week. I've managed to go about 2 weeks of pretty much almost 14-hour days without burnout. So yeah, that's
I'm happy for you, but scared at the same time.
I'm going, Marno, sorry.
I said I'm happy for you, but I'm scared at the same time. You got to get that sleep.
Oh, I've just got the stuff that I need to deliver. I had a call with somebody last night, and if you're watching, you know who you are. You're a legend. Thank you very much for the call. We'll keep chatting. Then I told them there's zero chance that I can commit to anything in the short term because I just have these things I need to deliver. So like literally after I hop off this call today, I'm going to just get back to the grindstone and keep thrashing 5.5. But I'd say a win, honestly, is the ability to deliver 2 massive projects in parallel. And both of those together have, been on top of what I would normally be doing every month. And so this month would be almost triple what my normal monthly revenue would be based on.
Amazing.
Yeah, it's been insane. So I'm just trying my absolute best to serve and to deliver, as this one-man show with my pack of racing dogs in front of me.
Well, Matt, the best thing about what you're saying from a market and a concept point of view, you've got a lot of people that want to support you, of course. But the same token, you say, I'm tripled my revenue. What I want to hear from you next week is how much money have you generated for your customers?
Yeah.
Because that will be bigger by a magnitude. And that's the bit that we get blind to sometimes. We talk about we did this and we delivered that and wasn't it great? But hey, what'd you do for the community?
Well,
what did you do for your customer?
I can say one, I think, in careful words without breaching NDAs. One of my clients turns over in the business that I am the sole systems engineer for. If I didn't have the stuff running for them, this business wouldn't exist. So I think that's enough for me to say that I somewhat am responsible for it. They turn over about 300 to 400K US per month. That's top line. So, before costs and everything, but that's a crazy amount of pressure that I feel. I literally was on a call earlier today, and the CEO founder of this company was messaging me saying, is something broken? I'm like, oh no, what do you mean? So yeah, that's my one that gives me the most stress and doesn't necessarily let me sleep. But
this is where we were saying a few weeks ago, Matt, that there's a point where maybe having a second human that can step in is useful, and so it's not all on you. And if you get hit by a bus and are lying in a hospital, your customer can still have a human helping make sure things are happening.
Yeah.
Well, he's got us easy back, of course.
Yeah. No, Matt, he wants to build agents and never work with humans. He said that on the show. He's like, he's never hiring. He can't work with any of us.
I actually had this chat last night with one of my agents, in my deep heart. No, I was like, everything that I'm doing is to provide means to do more cool stuff with cool people. So the whole point of it is to continue to do it. And if it means working with others to achieve that end, then it's only a benefit.
I'm just teasing, man.
You mentioned it earlier. When you're doing something, it's the big wide world, particularly as we get these tools, and you don't know if you're heading off down a weird path of discovery. And so using AI and your agents to reflect back to you where you are and what you're doing, as well as humans. So you've got 2 now, used to only have humans, and they're all biased, as we spoke about earlier. But if you apply that human reflection, which you need, we all need, and then you apply that to some AI reflection coming back to you, you get an even better perspective. One's pragmatic and one's got cognitive bias, and you know what to do between the two.
You know what I did last night, Richard? I built a framework to picture my life as a tabletop game. You know those insane nerdy tabletop games where they're boards and pieces and weird resources and a rule book that's like a Bible, and nobody wants to play it. It's just reserved for those people that know it. I said, okay, look, let's look at my life and business and every decision that can possibly be made as something that can be boiled down to these resources and where you apply your resources and focus, and how do you achieve a net benefit at the end. You know, surely this is a universal thing that every single person thinks about and feels. There's got to be some pattern here, right? So we built this framework where it's like a full scoring system, metric stuff, and I was like, okay, cool, I know where I can make a decision now. And it just was so clarity providing. Yeah, I don't know. So yeah,
that's awesome. I'm so jealous.
So Matt's investing wheat into the mech factory, so that way he can cross the river and deploy the oil.
Yeah, and avoid the trap cards and all the things.
You know, it's funny because I'm not really like you guys in that I was a nerd, but I've forgotten more than I could ever imagine. And I remember I did a leadership course when I was at BHP, and what I liked about that, and you know, I don't mind saying it was fabulous, right? And there was 62 of us over 3 days, all senior executives at BHP, trying to get through a bunch of these, you know, pretend situations, like, you know, here's a rope, you're all blind, how do you stand in a perfect circle? All weird crap like that, designed by some weird psychologists from all over the world. And we, you know, our team won it. We're very successful, and it was really great. What I loved about that course wasn't the problem solving, that's always fun, but it was watching the cognitive bias and confirmation bias from humans coming from different backgrounds. And that's where you get your creativity from, right? But what we get from AI, if we get agentic AI and agents into that, it brings us back to a pragmatic reality, like when you're laying out your life as a game. And the two is where it comes. It's the human element with the AI that makes it so exciting. Sorry. End of speech. Marno, you haven't said much. I'll shut up.
No, that's fine, mate. That's fine. I'm learning.
Stuff there.
Do you want to go, Matt?
Yeah.
I'm always like, I'm captivated whenever you speak, Richard. I think it's because you speak my language. And
I think we're both mental, and I agree. Yes.
Yeah, there's like a wavelength thing there that it just tunes in nice. If anyone else resonates with what Richard says and they happen to still be listening or watching this in replay, put comments and like just explain whether or not you agree with it or not, because like that those things always resonate with me so much. Anyway, back to Marno.
No, thanks, Matt. I appreciate you saying that, and I agree. I trade in that space. Marno.
Easy. Yeah, wins for the week. Talking with Matt, and I've implemented my Hermes agent. I've started it by putting it in a Docker container. So I wanted to make it as secure as possible, because the first time I installed it, it was just locally on the PC. And although it was incredible to watch it work for about 25 minutes at a time, it scared the living crap out of me because it had complete control over anything and everything. And it was cool. Like, it did a lot. But at the same time, I'm like, okay, well, let's tone this back a bit. Let's put it into a Docker container, set that up, spend about probably 4 hours setting it up to make sure it's safe and secure. It has a dedicated folder. This is how I communicate with it. Learning how to use WSL correctly, the Windows subsystem for Linux. And then on Sunday, Matt sent me a message, hey, do the Hermes update and then do the TUI as well. So I was like, cool, I'll do that. Long story short, 7 hours later, Hermes still isn't updating. I get furious. I was like, what the F is going on? I then pull it out of the Docker container. It's now running locally. It just has a bunch of restrictions where, like, before it can do anything, it has to ask me for my permission. But at least then I now know I can interact with it in a normal way instead of jumping through all these hoops. And it still has some level of security where I have to still approve every little task, but I'd rather that, because then I know it has the capabilities. I just have to monitor it. So long story short, Hermes agent installed, working, running the business, helped me build my new website. it's been extraordinary so far.
You just
That's
described
awesome,
getting a teenager to do gardening in the backyard.
Oh,
Well done.
mate. It was,
I mean, that was my OpenClaw experience. I tried setting up my Nemo Claw. I tried setting up in Dockers and WSLs and just completely gave up. And then I ended up getting OpenClaw kind of running in WSL without Docker. But it never, I just was like, I don't need it. With what I'm doing in Claude and co-work and other things, it's not adding sufficient value to my life to spend, 7, 4, 11, 12, 18 hours configuring yet another agent system. Because Marno, a few weeks ago, you'd built your own thing and you had your little pixel workers and you're doing all this sort of stuff. And then you saw some stuff from Blake and you rewrote everything. And it seems like you're just like agent hopping between which agent assistant am I going to run this week? None of them seem to be quite landing for you. Like, I don't know. Is that right?
Well, I started the process with that one where I had like pixel agents, which was cool to see. And it had some functionality. But the constraint there was it was burning tokens too quickly. And then that's when I saw Blake's one of like, okay, cool. If you want to build it with first principles, then I took that approach, built a task management platform. So it's a lot more effective, it's efficient, and it is token efficient as well, which is perfect. So I like that. And then Claude Code decided to ban anything related to OpenClaw or Hermes or anything. I was like, well, go Claude Code now sucks. So then moved it over to not moved it over yet, but then did basically analysis between OpenClaw versus Hermes. Yep. What my goal is, like I created a PRD for what my end product will look like of me as a business, and then provided that to Perplexity to help me do a review of which agent makes more sense for my long-term business. Like I don't need this to be a Tony Stark level where it does everything. I just need it to support me and help me operate like a team of 20. So I want this chief of command and this command center that I can run the business from by talking to this one thing. And Hermes was the best result, and it won by a clear mile. So now this will be me for the foreseeable future until
I hope so.
OpenAI cancels it.
What model are you running it on at the moment?
5.5.
In low?
No, you don't have the option in Hermes. You can only choose 5.5
slash reasoning.
5.4. No chance, buddy. That's
slash reasoning low.
Slash reasoning. Hey, you're too good.
You need low in your life. Like low is the new high.
It's now set to low because it doesn't have to do very difficult things. I just had it digest all of my Alex Hormozi playbooks as well as some mentoring courses that I paid for.
Yep.
And now it's just my day-to-day, my accountability coach, my strategist, and then hopefully doing marketing for me soon as well, which will be nice.
Have you gotten all around, for those of you that don't know about Hermes that happen to be listening or still here, Sean, hello. There's this really cool system with Hermes where it has like a recursive pedagogy loop where it teaches itself new skills. Have you gone around that, like with the Hormozi stuff and those mentoring things? Did you get it to set up frameworks for you as repeatable skills? Or did it already
so the way I've done it, I'm not sure if it's done properly, but my practice that I followed was I got Anti-Gravity to go through and create the playbooks. So digest the books, create playbook.mds for me, gave those playbooks to Hermes, and then said, hey, digest this. And it said it's created references or skills to pull from that, but I've not tested it yet. This is only the past week. Yeah, it'd
be really, really cool in the future if you see it pull that out and be like, well, actually, like that would be a really fun moment.
It's been cool so far for the website copy, like writing the copy for that and doing my outreach emails and stuff. It is pulling from Hormozi without me telling it, which is nice.
Nice.
So I'm curious to see now that it has about probably 12 books that it has to go through. How will that work? Because that's a lot of information.
Yeah. I'm feeling, so for anyone curious, I think Hermes is the great local agent. And you do exactly what Marno did. Install it locally on your system, and then you secure it in place. You give it certain restrictions so that it can't go outside of boundaries, but without containerizing it, because containerizing it just neuters it. And you need an external agent in order to run it and update and deal with things. So my mental model I have now is Hermes is the best sort of like local thing. And then you obviously can still do OpenClaw, and OpenClaw is increasing in its functionality and competition with the same sort of setup here. But I love OpenClaw as a containerized hosted deployment for production reasons. So, and I have a number of them now that I have set up for myself that I access through various means and I pipe data in and out of, and also for clients. I know I said I was going to make you guys one for the podcast, and I still need to do that. But yeah, the containerized option is for production deployment for sure. And the local option for just that extensibility and sense of evolution is unparalleled.
Yeah, I'm loving it.
Nice.
So cool.
Moving so fast, all these different agents. Like I said, I kind of, unless I've got a good reason, and we come back to, talk about the ROI of implementing AI for businesses, I'm the same for myself. Like what I'm doing with co-work is working really, really well for me. And until Claude really decided to change things up and force my hand, and given the evolution of Codex and some of the routines and stuff that I could do there, I could probably move a lot of my co-work infrastructure if I need to, with all my schedules and my updates and so on, across to Codex or to Hermes or anything in the future. But at the moment, I'm like, it's not broken. In fact, it's working really well. I'm not going to spend 2 days like Marno rebuilding stuff at the moment. I'm just going to use what's working for me.
Thanks for grounding that, because I totally agree. I'm just a spastic, and I do all of them all at once. So yeah, you literally use one thing and master it. People always say, should I change subscription? Should I change company? Should I use that agent? Oh, look at this new tool. Just keep using the same ones and just get really good at it.
Like I moved from anti-gravity to Claude because anti-gravity's usage licensing just got crushed heavily.
Yeah.
And Claude gave me upgrades like having scheduled things, which I couldn't do in anti-gravity at all. So now I've locked in on there, and that's doing really well. But like I said, I bounce back and forth. I've got the Codex app here. You asked about image gen. Let's see. Boom. Draw me a logo for the AI Operators podcast that captures the idea of a panel of people talking about the state of AI. And here we go. Use the image generation skill. It's a podcast logo. There we go. Skills.system/imagegen skill MD.
Why do I have a ballet bun?
What?
It'd be interesting.
And so then I gave it our little C and nodes and said integrate this concept, and it said boom. There you go.
Nice. Is that Amber and Manjula?
You saw the prompt, man. You saw the prompt. 5.5 low. But this was a fresh install, and it literally came in extra high speed. Like it came in like that.
That's crazy, yeah.
Which, like when you go to speed, it says, it's saying 1.5 now. It was saying 2x at one point.
Yeah, it was
with increased. So 1.5 times faster with increased plan usage. The plan usage is 2x. So you get 1.5 times the speed for double the burn. It's like, that math doesn't math for me.
That's the Gary Tan mode, the boil the ocean.
Yeah. So, but anyway, that's image gen built into the Codex app. So that's
nice.
Using.
I don't know if that's using image gen 2 though, because I'd be curious to see what that skill actually describes. It looks like you have a scroll bar there.
Yeah, I do. All right, here we go. Skill, use the image gen tool, imagegen.py for CLI mode, generate edit. Who knows?
Oh, there we go. Go back up. ChatGPT image 2.
Yes. Never silently switch from built-in image gen or CLI GPT image 2 to CLI GPT image gen 1.5.
I was speaking to someone recently about like how to get used to communicating with agents, and they were like, how do you talk to them so well? Like you've got such like a good grasp of like wording. And I go, I'm just skeptical. I don't trust them, and I don't like believe what they say the first time. I have to force them to prove it. So like in that situation there, Dave, I'd just be interrogating, being like, which model did you use? Did you run this through an API key? Like all of the things. Show me the exact payload that you used to do that thing. And
again, we're back to managing a teenager. Where did you get the money? What did you do to get it? Where have you been?
Where are you with? What's their phone number? Tell me what time. Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know. There is lots of mentions of GPT image 2 in here, but without spending the time to read through it or get it to reread itself and explain it to me, which we're not going to do now because we are out of time. I've already shared lots of things I've done this week, but one little win of the week that ties back and closes the loop on last week, we were talking about vibe coding apps and hacks and security holes and so on. One of the things when I was prepping my app for launch, I asked AI what I should be building in to help me as sort of a founder launch infrastructure. And it told me to put in a few hooks in the back end for tools called Sentry and PostHog. And so I put those in, and Sentry went, hey, there's a problem with the way you've set up Stripe where that's the wrong product code and that's not going to bill and you can't actually get charges and stuff like that. So again, like this is something I would have known. Like you said, interrogate, ask questions. If I just gone, here's my app and here it is, it's working, and then you've got no monitoring infra, you wouldn't know these things. And so again, just asking more questions and going, what are the tools I need to manage this as an ongoing SaaS app, and building those extra monitoring tools in is really important. So that was a bit of a win for me getting that. And because I've got PostHog in, which is like a analytics kind of monitoring tool in some sense, it can map and show me when people come to my marketing website, but then transition into customers and can maintain the ID because I've got PostHog across both different platforms. And some cool stuff there.
I love PostHog, and Sentry is amazing as well.
Yeah. It's just amazing how it's just monitoring and going, hey, you did a lot of database calls there. That's weird. Why would it be doing that? And just proactively just says, maybe go check that out. And I'm like, oh, okay, I'll go check that out.
Yep. Nice.
So that's a bit of a win. I installed monitoring infrastructure that I had no idea about. And when I went, what is this stuff that I installed? And when logged in, I was like, oh my goodness, it's actually got news and events. That's very cool. System
brings back the point, like as a final note to everyone, like, vibe coding removes the typing. It doesn't remove the engineering.
Exactly wise words.
Yeah. Which
We're done.
All right. Well, thank you all. Thank you, gentlemen.
Thanks,
thank you, Australia. Thank you, the world. I'm sure we're global. I'm pretty sure global viewership of this show. And so we'll automate some pipelines. We'll spam you with half-sentence clips of this show on your feeds from now on. And on that note,
I might publish a couple of those business cases too. Anyway, go on, Dave. Sorry.
No, that's it. We're good. Goodbye. Goodbye, Australia. Goodbye, gentlemen. We'll see you all next week.
Thanks for listening.